Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zenobia Harris. I am the CEO for the Kent Chamber of Commerce. I am one of the 9 business connectors that are here today. Before we get started, I just want to recognize those community business connectors that have come together to make this event possible. So if you are a connector, can you please stand and we will recognize you by applause, please, our business connectors. Thank you so much. Our daily lives. Thank you. Our daily lives are not putting on events, but we wanted to make sure that today we were able to do that for you and just kind of highlight the good work that's being done in the community. The purpose of the event today really is just to introduce you all to the work that is going on in the community via the Business Community Connector program, and also just talk about like the expansion strategies and community development and really storytelling. You don't know what's happening in your community until you hear this wonderful story about a business that was able to grow, that was able to bring on new employees or expand or go into e-commerce, someone who has not been able to get help because English is not a first language for them, and so they were able to speak with someone who could speak to them in their native tongue. And so we are so excited about the work that's being done there. So I do want to recognize that that is our purpose today, to kind of show what we're doing. So now we are going to move on to our performers for today. We have the Costa Rican dance performance by Kanya Dulce. We're so grateful for them and just appreciate that performance. So now we're going to move on to remarks from our funders. And we're first going to have up from King County, we're going to have Ashton Allison, who is the Director of Office and Economic Opportunity and Creative Economy.
I don't know about you, but I have always wanted to go to Costa Rica, and now I want to even more. So that was a great start to this event. My name is Ashton Allison. I'm the Economic Development Director for the King County Office of Economic Opportunity and Creative Economy. We're a newer office in the King County Executive Department, and so we're really delighted to be a co-founder and a co-funder along with the Port of Seattle and the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and the Community Business Connector program. This is really a rewarding event to attend for me. I've kind of got a special, I guess, perspective on this program because I used to be in Vaughn Taylor's role at the Seattle Metro Chamber, so I almost literally know what it's like to be in his shoes and to run a program like this. I've been an economic development practitioner for almost 2 decades. Started very, very young, and I have been in this area for just over a decade. And since I've been here, and I know this predates me quite a bit, the ecosystem for small business assistance providers, feet on the ground, has been vastly underdeveloped. And so this program really marks a change in that. And I'm really proud of not only getting more feet on the ground to help small business owners, because they do form the foundation and they're so important to our local economies. And not only the fiscal impacts that they have to your and my lives, they need livelihoods just like you and me. And so it's really gratifying at the end of the day to know that we helped fund a program that at the end of the day is helping with folks' livelihoods and is giving them an outlet to express themselves creatively, to do their craft, to operate a business. And so couldn't be more pleased to help fund a program like this. And I'd like to hand it off to my partner in crime, Managing Director of Economic Development at the Port of Seattle, Dave McFadden.
You know, I was just looking at an email. I was trying to think, what am I going to say up here? He stole all the thunder, and thank God I'm in front of Vaughn. I mean, I look back and I saw an email from like this time 3 years ago. Bill Ellis, myself, several people in the community having a conversation about the need to help business. Where were we? We were shut down. You know, that's what was going on. It was pandemic. And, you know, whether you were a small business and liked it or not, you were often shut down. And when you got back up, you had to operate in a very specific way, not your normal way. And I bring you all back to that moment because we all lived through it, and it was powerful. It was impactful. What I saw at that moment in time was a lot of folks stand up to the challenges. You know, the challenges on Main Street, the challenges of keeping our small businesses alive. Small businesses are backbone throughout the region. I think we often take them for granted until events like this show up, and all of a sudden you're going, I'm looking down the street and nobody's open. And we're not going to open them back in a normal way. They're going to have to eat outside. We're going to have to do workarounds. And really, that was the spirit through which this program was born. It was interesting, the email mentioned, oh, there's an SBA Navigator grant program, and there's a bunch of federal funding coming down to help communities support small business. The story goes on, we wrote that grant and we failed. But out of that failure, we gained commitment to say, no, what we have done and had through this regional conversation is valuable and worth investing going forward. So that led to a number of steps. It took us over probably a year to go from that conversation to a launch point where our commission was actually investing in the beginnings of a partnership with the chamber. You know, what I found interesting during that year-long planning period is you would think that the small business challenges were most severe when we were shut down and facing those challenges. But in our engagement out through many communities throughout the region, what we found is it was even more challenging when things were returning to normal. Remind you that inflation was rampant. Find a worker, good luck, okay? Those challenges are actually more severe in our polls of small business than the challenges facing from the shutdown itself. So I am one just here to tell the story because it's a real proud moment. It shows that for 3 years we have been working to get here, and in the last year we have seen the Chamber stand up this incredible partnership across the region. Very proud of the progress, but I'm here to signal that the work is far from done. We need to scale this outreach initiative even more than what we have today. I go back to what Ashton really said. You know, small businesses are vital, and they're not through the challenges, and if they are, there's more in front of them. And we have a golden opportunity to ignite economic development across the region if we can just put a set of connectors out there that goes talk to businesses, finds out what's going on, and finds those ones that need help, and then provides that assistance. That is the bottom line for the Community Business Connector program. And again, very proud of the progress we've made today, but still what I think you'll learn is we're still standing this up. We're still searching for more upside in terms of the impacts we can have across the region. So I'm going to leave you with that. I have been so pleased to be part of this initiative. I also want to introduce my partner in crime over here, Annie Tran, who has been indelible part of this journey. And really, again, proud to hand it off to Vaughn at this point to give you more specifics. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad Dave just talked about the story and how we got here, because like he mentioned, it was a year-long effort just convening our city partners to talk about what do we need that's unique for our region and how we can start doing things differently to meet the needs of small business. So to make up for time, I'm going to go through these slides very quickly so we can get to the real stars of today's event, which is our connectors and also our businesses who were served by our connectors. So we can go to the next slide. And I'm glad Dave talked about this, but our intervention is to strengthen our small business support ecosystem. So what that means is business recovery and retention, equitable business support. As we all know, during COVID, getting that relief dollars out to businesses was tough, finding who are the businesses, where they're located, and how we can best meet their needs for government forms. We all know those PPP loans were horrendous in terms of figuring out the requirements, and that continues. And also, we want to make sure that we learn about who our business owners are and some of the insights that we can gain through this program. Next slide. You can just advance all the way through. So today's event is about building the network. So we have consensus and we have buy-in from our city partners. We have boots on the ground with our connectors. We have a system in place with our website. I'll tell you more about that. But now it's about how we connect best with our technical systems partners, also our CBOs and city partners, and how we can work together to make sure that that experience for business owners is a good one. How do we better send our referrals to business owners, and how we connect with them and hold their hand throughout the entire process. And we want to do more of this, so that's how you can be active in this network, and we want to have an event like this on an annual basis. And throughout the year, we're going to gear up, and we're going to have a dashboard. You can see more of our scoring, our metrics, and how we're connecting to strengthen our ecosystem. Next slide. I can go on quickly. And the website is live if you haven't seen it already. It's communitybusinessconnector.com, and that's a place where we use our ticket system where we register businesses and our connectors will contact a business owner within 24 hours. So essentially, the connector is a small business liaison. They're the intermediary between the business owner's needs and the technical support that's within our region. Their job primarily is to pinpoint the needs in our 5 categories of capital access, business planning, marketing technology, and also connecting them to the city partners so they know that new businesses are starting in their region, and also social services. Next slide. And keep advancing. And we serve the entire King County, but we target our outreach, so door-to-door visits, essentially, to 25 or 26 cities across 5 defined hubs. And these are our connectors here of Lake City Collective, Views Consulting. So that's in North King County and East King County. And today, who's representing South King County is in hubs 3 and 4. And also we have Snow Valley Chambers, one of our connectors. Next slide. So last year, as it was mentioned, we were able to reach over 800 businesses last year. You can see that capital access is one of the greater needs. At least half of the businesses were looking for access to capital. Next was it was other categories, but also needing help with marketing and technology. So also we learned that in our time where we had a survey out to business owners when we were designing the RFQ for the program, and it also stood true when we actually went out into community to help business owners. Next slide. Some of our accomplishments, you can all the way through. So one of the biggest things we're proud about is that nearly $550,000 in our contracts went out to 92% of women, BIPOC and women-led organizations. And also we won the 2023 award from WIDA for our DEI approach in this program. And last, as you can see, we collaborate with libraries. We're in the library today. We continue to use this as a place where we can meet businesses and community. Next slide. And I'll just go quickly over these goals. So collectively, of our 9 connectors, we can outreach to at least 1,800 businesses, make referrals, over 300 referrals. And also our outreach, again, is to 26 cities. But for the other 12, we're also taking inbound support at the chamber. Some of the key metrics are not only we're collecting the business profile information, but we're capturing how well they're doing compared to last year. And we're taking a sample size of about 36 businesses to understand how well they're doing with creating new jobs and also investing in their business. And some of the early findings, another project that we're doing, so the website also has a resource directory, and the survey that was sent out, right now we have about 62% of nonprofits, 30% businesses, about 8% public agencies that were respondents to the survey, and we learned that about 36 organizations were led by BIPOC individuals. So one of the interesting findings that we found was that the capacity for business owners that can serve up to 25 businesses per month, they primarily serve business planning as one of their services offered, and then followed by that was marketing and technology. And of the businesses that they serve, it was primarily business services, food service, retail, and then any other creative industry. Next slide. And this is the final slide just to say how you can help, how you can be a participant, how you can guide our outreach throughout all the jurisdictions throughout King County. If you're a city partner in the room, work with our connectors by telling us some direct assistance for the targeted zip codes in your area, some of the commercial districts. Also, if you have a list of business owners that we can work with, we're happy to contact them. Also, if you're a city partner in the room and a service provider, we can do the same there. And lastly, just like today, we want to promote and embrace culture, so connect us to any opportunity where we can connect with a multicultural community. So with that, I want to, are we ready to show a video? Not quite yet. So after this event, we also partnering with Kent Chamber that's been doing a phenomenal job of standing up a program. I think an event has been about 10 years now. And we decided it's a great partner for us to engage with business communities and give back. So the Regional Business Expo is going to be May 9th. And it's from 3 to 7. It's going to be at the Shoreware Center. And this video will tell you more about it.
We're so excited to bring back the Regional Business Expo. We are more than 10 years running, but we wanted to do something different this year. So we reached out and partnered with all of our local chambers of commerce to find out what services, businesses, and restaurants are available here in South King County.
This event is important because it allows for community to meet business. Business tend to be isolated to focus on their local customer base, but wouldn't it be great if other people can get to experience their products and services from surrounding cities?
So we get the community to come based on the flavors of South King County. If you have a restaurant, it doesn't cost you anything to be a part of the event. The only thing that we ask is that you have samples available for the folks that are coming out. We're a very diverse community, so when you walk into the Showware Center, you're going to be able to taste flavors that you've never tasted before, but it's not just food. All of the businesses are showcasing the best that they have to offer, so you want to be involved because you want to know what your community is doing.
We know that it's very difficult nowadays because there's things that you have to follow at the state, federal, local level, and that can be very complicated, especially if you're a minority-owned business or a woman-owned business. So we're gonna do a workshop for an hour and a half to provide you with services that are gonna help get you started on the right track.
I've just always been really excited about being a member of the Kent business community, and I heard there was someone giving out free chocolate-covered strawberries, so I said, let me in on that. At an event like this, you get an opportunity to know the people who run the businesses that keep Kent moving forward. You know, no one wants to be in a car accident. So I try really hard to be really involved with local community organizations because we want to be seen as a resource that can educate you before you're in an emergency situation and need a lawyer.
Signing up is really easy. You go to kentchamber.com, click on May 9th, and the registration form is there.
Come join us at the 2024 Regional Business Expo.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing that. We have been doing that expo for a very long time and really excited to be more of a regional approach, right, and bringing in different folks. We have what's called the flavors of South King County. So I know that we have some flyers in the back that kind of showcase the different businesses that are part of that. But it's a really great opportunity for businesses to come together. And so if you're interested in registering, there are forms in the back there. Now we're going to transition and kind of pull the lights back up. We're going to hear from our first panel.
Thank you. Hello. Nice to see some familiar faces. My name is Lauren Nicholas, and I am the Small Business Program Coordinator for the International Rescue Committee Seattle office. We are primarily a refugee resettlement agency, but we also do economic empowerment work for all communities, regardless of your place of origin, background, and we also have an in-house CDFI. So our part of the Connector program is providing access to capital to folks who need it most.
Hello, hi everyone. This is Shweta Sangepu. I'm a financial professional and currently working with United Way as a tax site manager, and I'm going for my CPA certification very soon. And I'm collaborated with Indian American Community Services, and very happy to be here today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lalita Uppala. I go by she, her, and I am one of the small business connectors for Hub 4. I always have to remember the number. But I also am here with my team member, Tulika Dugar, who works as a small business navigator on our team. And we are very grateful to share what our learnings are here with you today.
Awesome. So as our funders and Vaughn, they were all speaking, some of the words that kind of came to mind, that it was a collective effort, support, endurance, and then it all ends up with like wraparound services. So we'll talk about almost all of those today during this panel. But I do want to start with what I think, as we're talking to small businesses, the very first thing that they talk about is capital and money and funding. And so the first question I have is that achieving financial independence is a key goal for many entrepreneurs. What advice do you have for startup founders and small business owners on achieving financial sustainability, independence, and particularly in the initial stages of businesses?
I can start, I guess. My biggest advice would be to make sure that your personal credit is in order. I think people kind of underestimate, especially entrepreneurs, kind of underestimate the value of personal credit and how much it's weighed when you're examining and stepping into business financing. So finding alternative lenders who will support you with those wraparound services, making sure that you understand the process, making sure that you're not stepping into a situation that will harm you in the long term, I think would be my advice.
I would say a friend in need is a friend indeed. I think this Connector program is helping out a lot of the small businesses with their funding and initial investment, at least, who are in need. And so I give you one of my example when I started my business. So I was a software developer working for one of the topmost company. So, but then I was earning 300 plus. But then I always wanted to become an entrepreneur and thus having my own business. So I don't know where to start. At least this is the great platform that there are like a lot of experts here who are excelled in their field. So we are getting advices from them. So I think it's a very great platform to hear from all of these leaders and learn from them. Yeah.
I think I agree with Lauren in this, that personal credit history. So how would you have it if you don't have the rent to pay, if you can't put food on the table? Where would you get that personal credit history? Who would you go to? It would be your community organizations. It would be your chambers of commerce. It would be those providers who can support your children, who can support your seniors, who can provide you the mental health support that you may need, who may be able to provide you the PPE that you need post-COVID now, help you understand what it means to create a financial worksheet for yourself in terms of what your expenses are and where your income is coming from, all of that. And that wraparound support is so culturally nuanced, and it is so needed that you can't really step out without it. So the Small Business Connector program is really a great example of that. It brings in those providers who provide wraparound support, and then they can help you bolster your information, connect you to resources, make sure you identify those low-interest loans that you can access, and who are those financial institutions? Where are those referrals? How can you get a website going? How can you get a UEI? Do you need a license? What's happening with your immigration? These are the questions that are small business entrepreneurs on a daily basis need. And they first need to address their basic needs. They need to build that personal credit history and then get to the next phase.
Yes. That's so true. And what I'll say when we talk about funding, and we'll go into different opportunities for funding, but when you're looking at funding, if you're a funder in the room and you have the opportunity to give funds for whatever reason, it is very important that you understand that education has to go along with that funding. If you are then giving $100,000 to a business, but you haven't explained to them how to manage that money or given them a resource to learn how to manage that money, they may end up back at your door with the same problem they started with because it's a lack of education. And so sometimes we have to, it is a both and. It's not just one or the other. It is a both and. And so talk to me a little bit about the benefit of going or using or working with the CDFI versus your standard lending partner.
I would sum this up as accessibility, opportunity, and accommodation. Our CDFI, so the IRC CDFI is a subsidiary, but it was created in response to the needs of the refugee clients who were resettling. So some of the unique needs of somebody who's brand new to the country, has not utilized credit, maybe doesn't utilize credit for religious or other reasons. CDFIs can often make more accommodations than a traditional lender would. So our CDFI, in particular, we offer a fee-based loan option for folks who don't want to necessarily take an interest-bearing loan. If a borrower happens to get into a situation where they can't make a loan payment, have an emergency, all we ask for is communication, and they can change a payment date, adjust a payment date in a month, and then opportunity, providing access to capital to people who wouldn't necessarily, banks wouldn't necessarily take a second look at. Given the population that we work with, we tend to lend more to immigrant and refugee communities, but lots of women-owned businesses and folks with just ITIN numbers or no documentation at all, which typically are not going to find those same opportunities in a bank. So having somebody that's more friendly from a CDFI, and then also finding, we're not the only CDFI in the area. I see a few of you in this room, so also finding a CDFI that meets your needs, whether that's language accessibility, amount of funding, different CDFIs lend different amounts, or the type of business you're in if somebody specializes in your business. So finding a CDFI that works for you rather than, fitting into the mold the bank is looking for.
Define CDFI. What does that stand for? Community Development? Yeah.
So a CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institution, and it's essentially just a private lender, so typically funded by SBA funding if they're larger, but because they're private lenders, they can typically lend with have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to terms.
So I think I'll take the example of clients who come to us with domestic violence history, immigrant women who come from cultures where they don't own a bank account. And for years, they may live here not having a bank account. How do you approach with domestic violence when you're going out and you're identifying as an entrepreneur and you need that financial input into your business? Where do you go? No traditional financial institution is going to recognize you without a bank account. Well, your CDFI institutions that you can go who are really catered and nuanced to providing support to immigrant refugee populations or to BIPOC communities, for those institutions, it is more a matter of sitting down and holding your hand and starting that bank account, ensuring that you build your credit history. So it goes deeper than that. It goes to cultures, it goes to patriarchy, it goes to how you empower entrepreneurs and how you create those jobs within the small businesses.
Yeah, that's just the power of, connections, right? And going to someone who understands that, someone who understands your culture. And if you can take out a loan or can't take out a loan. I think it wasn't until COVID that I realized how many cultures, just by culture alone, was not going to take advantage of the different grants available. And trying to work with folks who didn't understand that was a challenge. And so I'm glad that there's more information out there and more partners within the community. As we're talking about partners and we're talking about meaningful connections with the diverse, building meaningful connections with diverse communities is critical. Can we all agree on that? Okay. So can you share examples of successful initiatives or approaches that have kind of bridged those cultural gaps and fostered a very genuine engagement with entrepreneurs that have a diverse background?
So genuine examples of entrepreneurs of diverse cultures. I'll give an example of Armandina Garcia, who works with us in our community center. And Armandina has multiple jobs that she holds, as well as a cleaning business. She has 7 children, of which 3 are dependent on her. 2 have children who live with her. Her grandchildren live with her. So her whole tax submissions are just too complicated for her. She does not know where her Social Security card is. She does not know her Social Security number. She did not have all her pay stubs. She didn't know where her daughter's pay stubs were, but she had to file taxes. And it took us bringing 3 mentors from the community and about 65 hours of just gathering the paperwork first for her. We had to get replacement Social Security cards to start with. We had to make pictures of those, identify where would be the easiest place for her to keep it, hold her up for success, set her up for success for the next tax season too, not just this. And then reach out to Shweta from United Way, because she hosts those tax help sessions in Kent Library, where our welcome desk is, and then bring Armandina. And it took about 8 sessions of sitting down and identifying all the paperwork, making sure. Meanwhile, she had heard from a private tax consultant that she had to pay $6,800 to IRS for taxes. Her income is $28,000 in the year, and she has 8 members in the family who are dependent on her. How could that be possible? She thought she was going to pay those taxes. Well, how many hours later? Maybe 175 hours later, and 7 people working with her, we were able to identify that she actually gets $3,000 coming back to her from IRS. So it takes hours, it takes thoughtful intention, passion in advocacy, and making sure you don't give up with that person. And it takes having healthy collaborations, being able to step into our referral network, identify who are those resource partners that we can bring out from our network, and then make sure that we do this as a teamwork, because you cannot do it alone.
So a quick recent example from our team, we just recently had one of the vendors at Spice Bridge in Tukwila approach us asking about access to capital. And one of our financial coaches is Kenyan, so she speaks Swahili, and this particular vendor happened to also speak Swahili. And so she was able to work with Margaret, our financial coach, through the whole process of packaging her loan with our CDFI, working on her financial statements, pulling together the required documentation, and we were able to successfully get her a $10,000 loan to help expand her equipment so that she could extend her menu offering. Moyo Kitchen at Spice Bridge, you all should check it out. And she, we asked her how the process would benefit her, and she expressed to us that what made the difference for her was being able to have somebody explain the process for her in Swahili, because she's, a well-educated woman, been in business for quite a while, and, speaks brilliant English, but that one additional step of being able to go through the process, go through the financials, go through all the documentation, and understand it in her native language language. She'd taken advantage of, other free resources before, SBDC programming before, but she just didn't have that same confidence that she felt when she was working with our financial coach who could assist her in Swahili. So she had not taken that step before to access capital for her business, but she felt like she was more confident and knew more having access in her native language, and that made all the difference for her.
Yeah, it's really, I want to say it's the small things, but that's actually a really big thing. Just having someone and not making assumptions about business owners and what they have. You have this really successful business, my goodness, why can't you just go out to the market and get this, right? We have to be able to look at it from their lens and what they're experiencing or what they're not experiencing, what access they have or don't have. And so that's really important. And there will be an opportunity for you all to ask questions as well. So as we're kind of going through this, if you have a question, for sure, I want to be able to have you ask that. I think, when we have businesses come in via the Community Business Connector program, out in community, wherever, it's sometimes you want to sit them down and you want to ask three very specific questions, right? Or have you done fill in the blank, right? Because I think sometimes there are folks like myself, I started a business, I want to go straight to the top. I didn't have any foundation for that business, right? And so from your vantage point, from your organization, can you tell me, if you had to talk to a small business right now, what are the top 3 things you believe they should do immediately to get their business on solid footing?
That's an excellent question. Given the communities that we work with, refugees and immigrants, our first questions are often, do you have a bank account? Is your business licensed? And do you have some sort of financial record keeping system? Because a lot of times, most cultures, we come from a very litigious culture, and so there's a lot more record keeping needed, regulation needed, and so people come into this country thinking, I had a business back home, I can do this easily, and don't often go through the proper steps to set up their business. So for things like access to capital or grants or COVID relief, having the legitimate, the base legitimization for your business is usually the first place that we tend to start, and having those financial records, one for just the growth of your business, but also for access to capital down the road, tends to be the most useful thing that we ask for.
Adding to her, I would like to add one more point, is the marketing. How well you market yourself is another big thing that we need to focus on if you want to succeed in that business. So if somebody is there to give you referrals or you get the clients, that's when you see you get some money, and then there itself, then you create you generate funds. So I would say the marketing is also a very big thing that you need to focus on. And I'll also say the one more thing is business licenses, which she said, and also insurance. Business insurance is also very, very much helpful. Like, what in case, unfortunately, God forbid, something happened, at least we need to cover ourselves, right? So that is also very basic thing I would also advise to all the business owners.
Yeah, I think having licensing, IUN compliance. Do you have a business plan? What are your marketing approaches? And who do you have to lean on? Because my gosh, come on, we are a community. Who do you have to lean on? Do you have this? If you don't have this, then how do you get to that? I would say you need that.
Yeah, I think those are all 3. Sorry, Scott. Those are all 3 very good starting points. But really, for me, I would say just knowing why you're doing it. So when it gets difficult, you can lean back on that. You can have all the marketing, you can have all the money, but when you're tired and you've ran out of resources or something has changed that's out of your control, you have to understand your why. Why am I doing this? Is this for generational wealth? Is this because my mother has struggled and I promised her I was going to start this cafe? Whatever that is, you need to always have that at the forefront so that you are able to lean on that when it gets hard, because it will get difficult as a business owner, no matter what level you are at as you're growing, right? That whole growing pains. So do we have any questions from the audience?
I got a question. Alexander.
Hi, Alexander.
Jack, thank you for the presentation. For accessing actual loans, how have you been seeing the success? So say people have gone through the steps, you know, I got my balance sheet, my income statement, I've been banking for 6 months. Are you seeing success of the smaller businesses that typically haven't been accessing loans, access loans? And where are you seeing them get the loans, the kind of amounts? A little bit curious to that, because I know it's hard to get loans, but what are you observing?
Yeah. Okay, let me make sure that I'm addressing all parts of your question. Oftentimes, the biggest barrier that we see is a lack of collateral. So for those true like micro businesses that don't have a lot of overhead costs, maybe just need supplies to get started and can access a smaller loan and make that work without having to have collateral, that tends to be, we tend to find the greatest success on the smaller side in that case. On the larger side, for more established businesses or larger scale businesses that might need commercial space or large equipment, oftentimes they'll require collateral, at least from our lender. So then we have to have the conversation of, do you have collateral? Are you, or the financial history to back this up, or what is the next step utilizing some of these community resources for us to get you where you need to be to access either a larger loan from us or one of the other CDFIs in the area or a bank. What else? Was that?
So you're seeing folks being able to get loans, actually, go and get a loan?
Yeah, it just depends on the amount. Our lender in particular our CDFI is very focused on making sure that the scenario is sustainable. Because we work with a lot of immigrants and refugees, we want to make sure that people are not, choosing between a rent payment or food payment and a loan payment. So a lot of consideration, I won't speak for all other CDFIs, a lot of consideration on our end goes into the personal situation of the entrepreneur as well. And so it's a little bit less black and white of, is the business successful? Do they have the receipts to back that up? Also, we also consider the other side, do they have a large family to support? Do they have enough income coming in to support the family? So it really depends kind of on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I think for the small, really micro enterprises, it is about is your rent paid? Do you have means of educating your children and bringing food on the table, healthcare, and then finding those opportunities between city, county, and state where you can get small stipends to get them off. If they don't have that credit history, if they need to build, how do you get them there? If they are larger businesses or mid-range businesses, then are there SBA loan opportunities out there? Commerce is knowing and being informed and having the dates on your head. May 6th, Commerce is rolling out a low-interest loan program. How do we make sure that our businesses access that? So,
Quick question, one for Lauren.
Yeah.
Are the loans available to folks that are not immigrant and refugee populations, and also to Melissa? Can you tell us some examples of how you help businesses help them fill out forms, whether it's through loans or government grants?
Thank you. Great question. So our CDFI, we can lend to anyone, regardless of your financial history, personal background, place of origin. Obviously, kind of our mission focus is immigrants and refugees, but we will support anybody who needs that kind of access to capital. That being said, we will also encourage folks to shop around because there are other CDFIs that lend at different amounts, have different considerations. folks doing some really great work with Sharia compliant financing in the area. So we're just one option of many. And there's, lots of CDFIs. Fortunately, we're really fortunate to have lots of CDFIs available to meet different needs.
Yeah, I think for us, when we sit down with those applications and say filling out a business license or a UEI or the loan paperwork, we do them in so many places. Believe me, it's not a brick and mortar space more often than not. It's about being in a cultural festival or a place of worship or in front of a grocery store, and we are sitting with our small business there in a pop-up booth, and it's about providing the in-language assistance. It's about making sure that you speak the language and the body language of that person to really build trust before you get to that, because there are so many cultures where taking a loan is considered a shame. To be an immigrant and to not have achieved the American dream, and to do that, taking a loan is a matter of shame. So how do you get past that, to have that conversation, and to also make sure that when you cannot speak that language, that you have partners who can, and to reach out and work together to provide that information. And more often than not, you have to do it more than once or twice, because they may not have all the paperwork in order for you to fill that application.
I just want to talk a little bit more just personally, right? We're all part of the CBC program. What is that really doing for you as a person, as an organization? I think sometimes we get really focused on who our client is, and then we have this great opportunity to kind of expand and open our arms to other people. So I'd love to hear what it's doing for you. What are some of the things that you've learned, or some aha moments working with different cultures and communities, and being able to be a part of a program that will allow you to provide these wraparound services, that you have a person that you can go to. If I have someone that, speaks Spanish, I'm like, oh no, I got to get you over to Growing Contigo. I don't know any Spanish. Just hold on one second and let me get you to somebody. So it's a benefit to have a partner in community. So I'd like to hear personally, what is that doing for you all?
I think for us, the access has been amazing. Our program is only about 2.5 years old at this point, and it was started quite literally from the ground up by just myself and a colleague. And so all of the networking that we did, all of the ecosystem mapping that we did, was just us sending out emails into the void and hoping, somebody had a moment to respond to us and set up a meeting so that we could kind of get our names out there and tell people what we were doing. So having this formalized group of connectors, for one, to start with, to have that access and that connection has been really great, but also connecting with TA providers outside of our in-house skills, like taxes, for example. I would not touch business taxes with a 10-foot pole. That's not my expertise. Luckily, there are other people who do it. And so having those resources available to our clients has really been the biggest value add for us, for sure.
I would wanted to add one point here. A lot of clients, like even some of the referrals we got from Indian American Community Services, they asked me this question. So why do people should have LLCs rather than getting a self-employment income? That's a great question again. So I said LLC is a limited liability company where your personal properties never comes in place, even when somebody sue you. Like, unfortunate situations happens in the business, right? So we need to be prepared fully when you step into the business. Your personal assets are always in the protected zone. It will never come in a place between your work and your life. So then I told them, this is what the benefits if you have your LLCs and if you have your own self-employment income created. So then she said, yeah, this is something that I would definitely wanted to do it, because she is in a cleaning business. I don't know how many of you heard of this McDonald's and the hot coffee story. Have you heard of that? So they had to pay $5 million just for the hot coffee spilled, right? Of course, it's a big thing for the client, But then it is, when we look at from the further end, we think it's just the hot coffee, right? But then they had to pay $5 million. So in case of a small businesses, do they offer that much of money? So it's always better to have your LLCs created before you start your own business without, not having any risk further.
I think I'll say again, you cannot do this alone, right? It's about, we can go this far with impact in our small business community by ourselves. But I agree with you, more often than not during COVID, we were fishing in the dark. We didn't know how else to connect our small businesses. How do you get that kind of support? But with the CBC network and the kind of referral databases we have and the contacts we've built up through that, it has definitely allowed us and empowered us to go that extra mile and also to reach across communities and know where are those lending institutions? How do you reach out to those financial advisors? How do you set up a business plan? Who can help you if you have a client that comes to you and speaks Swahili? So it has definitely allowed us to go the extra mile.
Awesome. See if off and on works. Nope, that doesn't work. So there is something here, and I'm not even familiar with this. We're talking a lot about loans, right? We've used that word a lot. I'm a fan of grants. And the reason is, I don't typically have to pay them back. But what I've noticed with grants, and this has just really been over the last few years, there have been more grants available to BIPOC communities, small micro businesses, and that's really good. So I wonder if any of you are aware of any grants that are available coming up that you could talk about, or are you hearing that from clients? Like, I really want help, but I don't want to take out a loan. I really want grants. What's the workaround for that or suggestion?
I would say that's our number one ask is for grants. Usually the intro approach, a loan is not the most appealing, having to be involved for the long term, pay interest, that kind of thing. So that tends to be our number one ask from clients, particularly clients who don't want to pay interest or take an interest-bearing loan for religious or other personal reasons. It's really, really hard, or has been hard, to find products that meet that need. There is a group that's working on it, especially within the business finance realm. And so within the next few months and years, there will be progress on that front, which is really exciting. But for the time being, I don't know of any grants available at the moment, but that definitely seems like a shortfall for sure in how we can support micro businesses.
I think for the micro businesses, there are some stipends as such that some cities are rolling out. Not all. I wish that was a universal case, but that's not the case. And Commerce is rolling out a low interest loan that's really almost like a grant that is catered specifically to help you build credit history, to allow you to go that ladder up so that you can have credit history and you can access other opportunities. So it's not a grant, but it is the closest we have gotten to a grant. And I'm hopeful that those grant opportunities will come out.
One of the other things, I know that there's $400 million from Department of Commerce for Black minority-owned business. I see people shaking their heads. So there's some grant funds there, folks who are helping people on the diaspora, or they themselves are on the diaspora. And so there's that available. But is there any business owner here that use GPT chat? Anybody? Do you know what GPT? Yes. GPT chat, okay, that is your friend. I don't know if you knew this, but you could go on to GPT chat and tell them to scour the internet for a grant for your type of business, fill in the blank, whatever that is. I am this type of business. I am looking for grants here in King County. Scour the web. And then all of these grants will come up. Some of them will be over, right? They'll be expired and things like that. But you have to start using the tools that are at your disposal and just going and being more innovative and creative. And, you can't trust it completely. That's why, you trust but verify. You go there and you find out the information. But, and then also working with like your local chambers, working with your nonprofit organizations. There's a lot of folks that have that information. And this is why collaboration is really important. And making sure if you don't know, there is someone in your community that does know. Social media is a wonderful, wonderful tool to use. And so we just want to make sure we're using that. As we wrap up this panel, as long as we don't have any more questions from the audience, I want to end with what would be your hope as a technical advisor here in South King County? What is your hope for a program like CBC or any other program that we're able to, build around the local business community? What is your hope?
Well, that's such a big question. I'm obviously a little bit biased because our main community group is immigrant and refugee businesses, but I would love to see more of an explosion of culturally based businesses, different types of food. I know there's been, talk about international market from the port, kind of more of like a gathering space where we can, truly celebrate and share in the talents and cultures, whether that be culinary, crafting, of our immigrant and refugee entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I speak in perspective to taxation and financial advising. So I would advise all the business owners to have your balance sheet fully cleared and precisely have it on your own. I mean, if you're not going with any QuickBooks or any other tools, just have it written documentation and get the proof to wherever you're filing your taxes, you need to carry that proof, so that it gives you the written evidence that, hey, I spend all of these so-and-so date, and even if tomorrow IRS can come for the auditing for the next 6 years anytime. So they can verify your anything, anytime they can come over and verify. So please keep your records clear and precise for next 6 years, at least for 3 years. Mandatory for 3 years, and if possible, keep it for 6 years. Have all your mileage, maybe whatever the expenses, and the complete balance sheet. And you don't have to be very put in the Excel sheet or something like that. Even a piece of paper, if you write it, that should be good enough. And the second thing, when it comes to financial advice, as a financial advisor, what I tell business owners is having your licenses in place and have your business continuation plan. That's another thing. It is very much for all the businesses. And create your LLCs before you step in and start your business. That gives you extra precautionary step, and it will, it will prevent your personal asset to be affected in future.
So my utopian dream would be we live in Seattle where it rains and you can't go outside to get into a bazaar. I would really hope that every city has an indoor marketplace for our small businesses. And I call it a utopian dream because I've been knocking on many city halls' doors, and I still have to get there. But that definitely is a dream. And having those small business welcome centers in different cities that work with our chambers of commerce, that are working in partnerships, and that can welcome those businesses, the BIPOC businesses, where you can have night markets, you can have day markets, you can have food fests. So I have a utopian dream. I don't know when it's going to be realized.
Of course.
For the financial advisor, I know you had talked about balance sheets, right? But even before you get there, are there any resources to kind of help these smaller businesses do third-party analysis before they get to that point, so they know that they're verified before they get into an audit?
In a sense, one-time assistance.
Like technical assistance?
Yes.
So a lot of times, a lot of small businesses, they are not doing the CPAs nowadays, and they are having their own bookkeeping. That's one of the QuickBooks, one of the a great tool that you can put all the day in, day out, what's happening, what are the expenses, and everything you can include it there. But then, if at all, if you are not very techie person, and if you want to add, if you want to have a return, you can still write on a paper and then keep it in. I mean, at least take a picture and upload it to your cloud or somewhere. But keep it for next 12 months, and what is the total amount? The CPAs, who are filing your taxes, they can calculate. You don't have to do that background work too sometimes.
There are resources. I want to make sure that you, Taylor, raise your hand. Taylor's our marketing manager at the Chamber, and we can get you connected directly to someone that can take a look at that and she's sitting right there. That's who we're going to connect you to Lily right there. So one of our partners. What I heard our dream is to ensure that folks have a really strong foundation, and that there is a gathering place for community, and that there is a space that is inclusive of the environment in which we live in Seattle. My dream would be that we do not have to continue to have these conversations over and over again, that we have a business climate, a community in which everyone has the same level of access, and that people are going above and beyond for the person that does not look like them. That would be my dream. So with that said, thank you so very much for the work that you're doing in community. Thank you so much. Part of this, and like I said in the beginning, part of the reason why we're here today is really just to hear from those business owners. Bill, I know you want to hear these stories, the business owners and kind of what they're doing and the successes that they're having. So I'm really excited to bring up our second panel. And our second panel, again, is just going to really be talking about some of the success stories. We have a few questions, but we really want to hear from them. And just want you to talk a little bit about your business, who you are, introduce yourself, and then we'll come back around and start to share those success stories. But we would like to see who's on the panel, so I'll start here.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Adasha Turner. I am founder of Modest Family Solutions, which is a agricultural education program in Snohomish and Skyway. And I also am the owner of Black Seed Agroecology Farm and Village on Whidbey Island.
Hey everybody, my name is Kamran, managing partner of 47 Consulting and representing Biblos here today, and just wanted to give a quick shout out to Tax U-Sign for pulling us in.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saurav, co-founder of 47 Consulting, here on behalf of Biblos Mediterranean.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Asari Mohammed. I'm the co-owner of a very unique restaurant on Skyway. Salima Specialty, sorry.
How you guys doing? I'm Justin Horns. I am the founder and owner of Horizon and Cleaning Services, LLC.
So I wanted to just start with an introduction, and so thank you all for being here. We are well aware that time is money, and your time is very valuable, and what we want to do is just kind of shine a light on the experiences that you've had being a part of this program. As you said, someone personally invited you here. They value your business, what you've been able to accomplish with working with that particular individual, and so just want to kind of go down the row here. You guys can pass it however you like, but really just talk about how being part of this Business Connector program has really enhanced your business, and like what are some of the highlights of what you've been able to see. We'll start on this end.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you to everybody for inviting me here to do a speech. Thank Mr. Vaughn as well for helping me get here. I am glad to be in an organization that is as great as this is. It helped me get to every level of where I wanted to get to by resources, contacts, and stuff of that nature. I didn't just get here by walking, but I did crawl somewhere to get around. I asked a lot of great questions. I talked to a lot of good people, and they led me to most of my resources and stuff of that nature. Want to pass it on?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I guess the previous panel was talking about certain difficulty where you can having financial help to sustain your business, but in our situation is growing pain. We have a products that we want to grow, and it's hard to really find some financial help to really scale our products, and it's also very hard to have it as a Muslim. It's very hard for us to really get conventional loan. We have to work with our principal, and sometimes we have to really dig into our family members and so forth. And to have this collaborations, it's just for me. It's just I'm still dreaming. It's something that I've been thinking about for 10 years. When I forgot her name, her dream was to have this hub, right? It kind of I had this dream too, what we call Halal Square. Imagine that like a night market, but in a hub, where it's kind of like an incubator for you to really set a business model for them to come in and just be a turnkey success. And so that when she's talking about that, like, wow, so we're in the same dream here. So, so I just want to say that.
Thank you. Being a part of the Connector program has effectively allowed Biblos to reach out to multiple cultures that we would have otherwise not been able to connect with. Sorry, my voice might be a little low, but yeah, partnering with the Connector program has effectively allowed Biblos to reach out to multiple different cultures that we would have otherwise not been able to reach out to, and it's been a success specifically because of that.
I don't know if this works. So I will say with Biblos, most of their clientele, they were Iraqi, because that's just like little bubble that they used to be in, and their biggest priority in the last year was to penetrate like other communities. So like getting involved with the Connector program just like automatically opens a lot of relationships to help kind of perpetuate that. So that's what Biblos is getting out of this program, and I feel like they are getting that out of this program.
Thank you. Being one of the only BIPOC or Black landowners operating a farm that produces halal meat in the region has been my focus, even in our youth development program. So Kristen, thank you for the invite, was like, hey, we're at a point where we received an infrastructure grant, right? So scaling is definitely on the radar, and opening the halal processing training facility on Whidbey Island got approved. So we're already looking at scaling, but then it's like, this is a lot of work. It's like, who can we start to partner with to where, many hands make light work? And so Kristen had introduced me to someone within my community, literally a block down the street, that I had no clue was there because my, boots were in the ground in the mud, so to say. And we raised chicken, we slaughtered chicken. We are looking at, added value product, whether it's halal bone broth or other items that are here. And so it was just like, it made sense, and I would not have known without that. And then also being able to share a lot of regulatory guidelines that are out there with folks that are coming up and sharing those stories. I think I felt like I have some skin in the game and I have something to offer as well. So, as another business owner, you always think like you're focused on your own business, but it's like that giving back opportunity is definitely there. So the connection was definitely symbiotic.
I wonder, thank you for sharing that, but I wonder, what are some of the challenges? Each of you are working with different cultures, different communities. What are some of the challenges that you've seen that you've been able to overcome, whether it's with the CBC program or in general by collaborating with others?
Some of the challenges are, and I just shared this, I had to travel out of state to get some of the regulatory certifications and classes. So and being there, being the only BIPOC and female member in that audience, and it's like, do you really wonder what the barriers are, and then calling the state immediately, WSDA, and asking, why isn't this offered in our state? There's a lot of technical assistance in Oregon. Can we get this here? And they were saying that some of the challenges, and it's because they can't ask for it. Someone has to, like now that I'm certified, can ask them to come and visit. So it was just like, that was huge for me, because it's like, now it's like, I have to be here, in order to open up the doors for other folks. But really understanding those, the barriers and from what we experience, and then having to do a lot of education, because it's something else that's missing. It's like, people know that they're there, but they're not understanding, and really having the temperament to being able to walk someone through what that is, and hoping, that's all you get is hope, that it's received well.
Since there's two of us, we'll split two challenges. I will cover challenges around accommodating customers that come from cultures you're not familiar with, and then I'll have Sarv cover scaling with technology. So historically, Byblos, you would walk in there, nobody spoke English. You talk to an employee, they just yell at you, and this must be just culturally how it works. And they didn't have any menus, no prices. You never know. I'd just be pointing at things that look good and hope. This is when I was just a customer, hoping I get something that tastes good. So when Byblos started getting customers that were not Iraqi, they're not native Arabic speakers, we would get complaints like the lady at the cashier let someone cut in line, and they might not know that maybe there was some context there, or they're saying there's no menus, no pictures, and this and that. So the biggest challenge, about 6 months ago, is leveling up the in-restaurant experience with three main things: a menu with prices, someone who could explain at the cashier what they're ordering, and of course, a little bit better than mediocre American customer service. So that's been the biggest challenge. I'll have Sarv speak to the technological parts.
As any other business out there, we're all new to social media and Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And one of the challenges that we had initially was, how do we penetrate the market? Do we reach out to Iraqi, Mediterranean individuals who we're normally catering to? Or do we start putting a spin on the marketing content that we create, so that way we can macroscopically cover every single culture out there and make them feel comfortable enough to come on site and try our food out? And so the initiative that we initially took out, the challenges that we faced was finding that right target audience, being able to create the right type of content that would really hit at home for those individuals, being able to produce content that educated the masses to bring them in through the doors and try out a whole entire different culture for the food that we offer. And so it's been a thorough process, but we've been a part of working with 47 Consulting and been able to strategize effectively and reach out to multiple different cultures, as emphasized again, and allow them to effectively come through the doors. And while the cultural barriers might be there, the content itself is vibrant enough where people can go ahead and go show that type of piece of food that they would like, and they're able to order that directly while still having a barrier in language and understanding. So yeah.
One of my biggest challenges right now is really to scale our unique products. Maybe I should explain a little bit what my product is. We're able to, my wife and I was able to produce the first of its kind. It's called instant halal pho. And so because we're a Muslim, it's hard for us to use. There's two methods that we did research, and there's one is powder method, the other one is freeze-dry method. The powder method has a lot of chemical in it, so it's not compliance with our religion. So the freeze-dry method was the way to go. But the challenge is, the equipment to produce that method is really expensive, and it takes a lot of space. And so, and then I did some research, and there's only one or two facility throughout the United States that does halal processing. And so it's very difficult, and we want to outsource it, but it's they're asking $2 million per year to produce a certain minimum, and so we end up just having our own processing plant in our restaurant, and so this event is so important to us because now we're able to collaborate with Black Seed. We're hoping to have our own processing plants. Like in Islam, inshallah.
Thank you. This don't work.
It's working though.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, to answer the questions, what are my barriers or what were my barriers? My barriers started from not being a non-resident here in Seattle or Washington. I moved here from Indianapolis, Indiana a year ago. Capital, working capital is number one in small businesses, as Azora said, and everybody else that's in small businesses know of. My credit, as Lauren had said earlier, that's kind of a barrier as well. Challenges, I challenge myself every day, right? This is a challenge right here. I joined all the greatest organizations that I know of, starting from the Chamber of Commerce, Urban League, BNI, anywhere that I can go to get the financial help, literacy, or just resources. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure it all out as I go. Stuff like that. Barriers, other barriers that I have is I don't know a lot of languages, different languages. And here in Washington is very diverse. It's a lot of ethnic groups. Sorry. Still choking on some of that mango. But yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs with doing business. Nobody really tells you how to do business and the right ways to do it. I think we all have a certain idea of how business is supposed to be ran. But my newest challenge is trying to put my passion with my business and just put it into my motto. I'm just here to help. Really, that's how I started the business. I wanted to find people or places and things that needed my help and services. So that's what I did. And those barriers and challenges are being conquered every day.
I talk about the barriers I have now, but I'm not trying to think of the barriers we had at the beginning. And one of it is that, this big pot of BIPOC, and that terminology where there's BIPOC funding and there's BIPOC help. And it's like going, I'm Black, I'm African American from America, 5 generations from an enslavement ship. My aunt's 109 in Alabama. That's who I am. But when they put it in BIPOC, it's like, especially being a hijabi, it's like, oh, immigrant and refugee. So I understand, but that's not what I'm speaking of and what I'm talking about. And so it seemed like even though people were painting this brush and even working with indigenous communities, they didn't identify with being in that group either, but the funding was that way. So it was really hard for organizations that were popping up that were helping BIPOC communities. Like, are you helping BIPOC or are you helping specific things to check off boxes? And that just led you to a lot of doors and just a lot of near misses with that. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So in, my other life and one of my other jobs, I talk about equity with folks. And BIPOC is not a word that I normally use. I am Black. I wake up Black. My husband's Black and my daughter's Black, right? And so for me, that was a thing where people make this assumption. I just want help me because of who I am and what my need is, right? And so it kind of goes into my question. And I like to ask this question sometimes because, and then I'll make a comment afterwards, because I think that services just need to have all of the elements of success, meaning you cannot provide someone with a resource without giving them the information to use that resource. And you want to check and make sure they know how. So when we talk about like the technical assistance, right, as we're building out this program and it's going to get bigger, I am certain of that. When you talk about the technical assistance that is available, right? What is it that specifically you need? Just think outside of the box. What is it that you need specifically from a technical standpoint that's going to help you move your needle, whatever that is, more funding, more equipment, more culturally diverse, whatever that is. What specifically is something from a technical assistance standpoint that you need?
Thank you. And it was from an experience working with a Department of Commerce economic development program in North Seattle, and their small business program and this incubator. They gave us a stand, and that was on a 2-year grant, even though we had to pay money, so that was still a little bit confusing terminology. But it was the limitations of the technical service provider. We're a social enterprise. We came in as a social enterprise, and it's like, no, this is a small business. You need to do this. I don't do only that. We have a nonprofit and we have a profit business. How can you help me? And I'm literally asking for the help. And it's like, no, you're going to be small business, to the point where when we were giving out food for free during Eid, we had a lot of donations. We've secured over $1 million in non-restricted funds during the pandemic. So we help when we can, and we use it as seed funding when we need to. So Eid is one of those things where folks aren't able to access qurbani, or hand-slaughtered meat. And so we've had people come in and it's like, this is the first time I've had this, since I've been in this country, and you're just giving it away. And it's like, we've been blessed, and then someone comes and, from the economic development department, and they said, you can't do that. You can't give out free food here. That doesn't look successful. And I'm like, we've given out over 4 million pounds of food to this state. When you needed us, we answered the call. But when it comes for us to supporting community, you don't consider it successful. But the lady next to me, no shade at all, is selling sock puppets for $30. And that looks like success, and we're feeding people. So this is where my technical assistance needs to come from my community, because they understand what I'm doing. They're not going to question me. And when you're having to, like I said, I don't mind educating people, but that should not be my full-time job, especially when we're doing the work. And I assume that the people in the technical assistance and financial, spaces that are getting paid to help community, that they're coming with a open heart and an open mind to hear what you say to help you develop your product, instead of preset parameters that they see you in and you can't succeed or operate outside of. So my answer to her was like, I feel like I'm successful. This is where I wanted to be. My success is taking care of community. It's reviving livelihoods. It's not to put money in my pocket. So that was my issues with technical assistance and barriers, is who is getting that and how they're really serving community.
Can you clarify and maybe provide an example of what might be considered technical? Because I'm a software guy, so when you say technical,
I'm glad you said that. Technical assistance is just like a new term. This is a new term, So technical assistance would be any service resource. So it's more of a resource. What resource could we offer you in the form of an actual physical resource, information, plan, phone? It's different for everyone. So what resource could help move the needle for you?
okay, so since there's two of us, I'll give you two examples.
We'll take it.
I'll have Sarav talk about the need to get more power supplied to Biblos. Remember the dessert shop? Yeah. I'll cover more of the human technical resources. So you have to realize that a lot of these immigrant-run businesses, these people come from war, persecution, maybe half their family was killed, and they come here and they start from the bottom. They might have been a doctor wherever they came from, but here they're working 60, 80 hours a week in a kitchen, if minimum wage, in a lot of the cases. So at Biblos, people have been, they do come from a community that has a lot of that, and so they know how to make food, but things like the etiquette of communication, how to handle cash in an American context, all these things. It would be really cool if there was some sort of vocational program that an agency said, hey, if you employ people that fit this particular set of parameters, we'll give them 10 hours a year on continuous learning, some sort of something to kind of get them upskill to be able to just participate, leave their bubble, their cultural bubble, and participate with society. So I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, the technical assistance that I think would be beneficial to actually all, even businesses out there is actually understanding the etiquette between reaching out to your right organizations to get things done. One of our issues we had on site was that we were going through growing pains. We're trying to expand into providing desserts on our premises as well, alongside our deli and our market. And we were unable to really connect with the right individual to provide more power to the marketplace, and thus allowing us to be able to effectively, tap into the energy source that exists to all, and provide more resources and more services to our clients, right? Which are people walking in through the door. And so while we were able to accomplish that, it took many, many months of bouncing around from this person to that person. Oh, call this organization, call that organization. And only after, it's crazy to say, only after did the electricity go out because of an outage issue when we plugged into an outlet, did they come knocking on our door with the fire department. Oh, you guys should have done this. You guys should have done this. Like, we've been trying to reach out to you guys, to the fire department, to the PSE, et cetera. And individuals are not reaching out, right? And so while we were able to solve that issue, who knows, maybe moving forward, we might want to scale, or we're not offered those resources to understand the etiquette between how do you actually reach out to the proper organization, being a business that's may have language barrier or something of that sort. Maybe even finding representation that we can tap into to further allow, more resources to be allocated towards our business as well.
This is why Halal Square needs to happen. Because when you bring everything into a hub, you set a model for success. Immigrants or people that doesn't know how to run a business can come in and do it, just do what they're doing best. You just cook the foods, and have an admin team to really help, managing all the technologies. I mean, when you're talking about technical help, I'm pretty sure all of them need all the technical help. So instead of just teaching them how to fix the car, let's build them a Mercedes so that they can drive, or a Tesla, yes. So that's where my dream for 10 years is to build some kind of hub where we would managing all the admin side of it. And the admin side of it is like almost 30-40% of our owner as a business owner. If you take that effort away and let them concentrate on what they do best, I think their success is more higher than if they were to get the technical help. So,
thank you. I've been thinking about this question, and I'm with the other people that's on the panel right now, and I'm thinking, we get technical assistance through these organizations, but I think it should be more of hands-on type of practices. So maybe some more mentoring, which would be going into a business, said business, maybe the same, maybe a different one. You shadow the owner, operator, or whatever, so you'll know how to be a CEO for the day, or just a regular janitor, just walk around pushing a broom, stuff like that. Maybe some more entrepreneurship type of training on the field. Maybe that may help as well. More meetings, more people, more connections. We all need support, right? We need to learn what those supports are outside of capital gain and the barriers. Oh, sorry. I'm so used to speaking without this microphone. Okay, so I just think we just need more. We just need more participation from the communities, stronger businesses to let us know what we need to do. Like I said before, I didn't think that I knew how to run a business before I started this business. And it's kind of complicated through the days. Every day is a different day, but it's also a challenge. So I wake up in the morning and I think about what can I solve versus what I can't solve, right? This connection program that we're in right now is very great as far as calling out to somebody and be like, hey, I need help in certain areas, or I need a number for somebody who can help me, right? But what if that person is not there to connect you? What do you do then? What do you do when you go out and ask all the questions that you can ask, or you go and gain all the opportunities that you can, but you never lead an opportunity? So where do we help right in the middle of there? There should be partners that's already lined up, say, hey, we're going to take a person and give them their first opportunity, not just, hey, we're going to help, right? I think that's what we need as far as technical assistance.
I could say that because I've gone through Islamic economy and a gifting economy and trying to find alternative resources outside of funding. I rely heavily on corporate responsibility dollars, which means I knock down doors and I ask a lot of questions as to the alignment of your organizations and boots on the ground. So to answer your question, doing that recently, I found out that there's tons of funding for microgrids. The power supply and the grids that were designed weren't designed for all of this pool, right? And so they're wanting businesses and new developments to, whether individuals or corporations or housing, to kind of participate in this program. Tax credits just dropped March 31st. It was too late in the game to access those credits this year, but next year, so the IRS, and so people, because I'm knocking down the doors and they're like, send to Dasha all of this stuff, and I literally have 40,000 emails. I just need someone for the emails, but it's things on grassroots all the way up into, government. We have a lot of federal contracts as well, and that's what I'm trying to push our community to, because there's a lot of funding there. But when I find out that there's things like these microgrids that, for businesses, that we have a lot of power, I have 5 shipping containers that are refrigerated sitting that need at least $60,000 to $70,000 just to power, so we can have refrigeration for food services in different areas. But it's like, that's a bill that city's not going to help with. This is like your business, scaling, that you need. But it's like that we know we need it in order to scale, but then it's like going, how are you justifying it when you're going somewhere and asking for funding, and then you find out that PSC has all of these programs, and it's like, who's going to connect the dots, and where's the general knowledge transfer, that could happen? So I think now that I know Kristen is connected here, it's like I'd start passing a lot of that information on to her. So these are definitely necessary so that community informational transfer can happen.
Yeah. We've got some people in this room that I think, first of all, I agree with all of that. And it does, I feel like, boil down to this community space networking and, the vocational training, that's brilliant. And I'm looking at Bill.
Actually, I was thinking about, for Ken. Project Peace has a program that we invest in that does some of that kind of vocational training. And they're in Kent at the Ubuntu Cafe. They run about 10 refugees at a time through their program, and they work on customer service interactions in the restaurant space.
Oh, okay.
I was going to link you afterwards with the director.
Yeah, that'd be
cool.
cool.
That could go there.
Yeah.
We know I know Mohammed Akmoud with the Iraqi Community Foundation.
Oh.
He reaches out to us. I try to come and bring help. There's been issues though, especially during the pandemic. We had one little coffee stand. It was about a year and a half to get PSC to return their calls. So during the pandemic,
Wow.
that wasn't a limited story. Gravity coffee, drive-through.
Oh, poor Gravity. Yeah.
But I want to make sure you have my card.
Good. So what that means is the need for these type of conversations are so important, because your issue or problem or whatever you want to call it you're having can be solved just by being in community. And that is the reason why, and I don't know if we've done this yet, and it's an awkward timing, but it just hit me. The person I think that we all need to be supporting is what we've deemed as like the master connector is Vaughn Taylor. Vaughn has done the work. And what I mean by that is connecting people. I've been in this role for 5 years as a CEO. There are people I never had a conversation with until I connected with Vaughn. Literally, I don't even know what his other job is. I don't know what you have other time to do at the Seattle Metro Chamber, but the work that's being done and the sheer connections that have been made through gathering people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different opportunities is going to change the landscape of our businesses in South King County. It is literally going to change the way in which people function and grow. And Vaughn, we owe you, I owe you, a lot of people owe you a nod and respect for the work that you're doing, because this is not easy. This is not easy work. This is not easy. And so I just wanted to say that, but as we're wrapping up, were there any questions for the business owners? Because I know we want to get some networking in and all of that. Vaughn?
Quick question. I wanted to know, how are you learning from other business owners? I heard Justin talk about it's great to learn from other business owners and mentorship, and you made relationships. So any lessons learning from other business owners, not just being connected to nonprofit organizations?
I'm learning as I'm going, so I'm picking up some tips, tidbits, and tricks from you guys, which I do know a lot of people in this room, thanks to you. I've been connected to a lot of resources and a lot of organizations, but all you guys have great niches and y'all do your job to the point. And you guys are something to, replicate, just to be in the shadows of great people, like I said, you guys, right? I learn every day to just put your boots on the ground. I mean, I know it's kind of cliche-ish because we've been saying it all day, right? But just lace up your boots, just be willing and ready to just take on diversities, take on anything that you have to go through. It's not going to be a sunny, shiny day every day, even though it's shiny and maybe raining, right? But I'm just learning just to be resilient and to be very tenacious in what you got to do, ask right questions.
Yes.
What I learned going through this process is really validating the dream that I had for 10 years. You know? I didn't know I was the only one.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who wants Halal Square? You know, but it's also pleasantly surprised to see that as a business owner, there is grant out there. You know, and like years ago, you can't even as a business as a profit entity, you can't even apply for grants. You know, now there is, and I'm happy to see that because. Small business, like I said, there's people that are in bad credit, but yet they're good people.
Yeah.
And they want to do good business, but they can't, But so having grant available for a small business is huge.
Yeah. Good.
Sorry, could you clarify your question one more time?
Yeah, now that not only that the program is connecting business owners to resources, but they're also connected to other businesses in their community. So just wanted to know if there's any insights or lessons learned now you're working with other businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Without having connecting to other businesses and other individuals in the same situations, you're left in a cave. You only know what you know, and you think you may know best, or you think you don't know anything at all. You step out there and you can actually affirm by notion that what you're doing is actually en route to a successful venture. And you also can be able to pick up, small bits and pieces from every other individual out there. I don't believe in the term help. I believe in the term complement. We all complement one another. And when you're conversing with other business owners that are like-minded, they're able to complement you and fill the void that you would otherwise not know about. Being able to know that there's grants available or services available to small medium businesses locally in the area for tapping into the grid. That's amazing. Now that's a compliment, right? Now we can go take this information and share it and see where it goes from that point. Otherwise, it would have not been known, right? And so those conversations complement off of one another, and without those, you don't get to grow and be the true yourself. And so, we've had the pleasure of interacting with many businesses all across, and the theme always stays the same. We're all literally the same. We may be different colors, we may speak different languages, but true to heart, we're just humans. We all eat, we all breathe, we all sleep. And might as well share some snippets along the way with one another while we accomplish, our goals together. So I truly appreciate you putting this together, because this has been an eye-opener to see multiple different businesses come together and, be selfless in the way you guys are providing this service. want to chat with you more about how you're marketing it, because I'm really interested in this. Yes, hitting the target audience on the nail in the coffin is really important, especially because it's actually right? It's like community work, and like we would have not known about it if she didn't reach out to us, right? And if she didn't reach out to us, we would have just been our cave, trying to think of how can we help out the businesses. We have done X, Y, and Z. Have you tried X, Y, and Z? We're always open to sharing these thoughts, but we want to understand, how can we actually get in front of more people, right? Like we may not be far ahead, but we're in a position and place where we can give back by conversations, right? Connecting you to other resources and such. But it's really important to understand how can we actually do that? Because there's people out there that actually want to help people out, right? And so understanding how is that possible, that would be really cool. So
The question is like what we've learned.
Just learn working with other business owners.
Okay. I mean, I'll give you two perspectives.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you like the consulting perspective, but because we work with so many businesses, we just learn through doing our jobs.
Right.
But the reality is like there's a reason like the owner of Biblos is not here today.
Right.
It's because he's so busy working in the business that he cannot make time for this.
Right.
So, yeah, I do think it's helpful to go out there, talk to people, learn and this and that. But for most business owners that we talk with, they are, I mean, they don't have time to leave their business and go do stuff in the field. So, I mean, I think in theory for sure, it's like a super brain. It's just everybody comes together and you learn from each other, amongst each other. But I think it's much easier said than done. And I think for me, I have a privilege to be able to chat with different businesses all the time. So, yeah.
I disagree with what everyone has said. It's like you're in the trenches and you don't really understand or see who's in there with you. And so this kind of gives you some vision as to that. And then to hear that you're also not alone, like a business owning and growth and scaling is somewhat of organic in nature, but there's definitely a lot of similarities. So we can learn, different things. I don't know social media or marketing. That is not my thing. My thing is farming. So it would be nice. I was like, I don't even know how do you make that a thing, right? But no, I think that there's, and just someone just a block away, right? It's like when I would have never even connected the dots, and it was so pivotal to the next steps of our businesses. So.
Wow. Well, good. Well, round of applause for our panel. Awesome. Thank you.